pattern, just to use that word that everybody understands. But we choose to, I love what you said, we choose to see it as part of access to our own beloved within. And I learned this from you. I'm going to start applying it, that you don't call your former husband. It makes so much sense to me. Anymore former, you love him, beloved, and they are such a great part of our journey, because it's us, right? Everything is us in a different vibratory frequency. We're unity and diversity, but you truly, and then you are initiated as a swami. I was initiated as a swami really, really young too, by a master in India in the Kriya Yoga tradition. So it's, when you're speaking, I'm like, wow, these multiple manifestations that we all are of each other. I mean, I'm hot through you. If I'm you and you are me, which is true. You're so hot. I'm so happy that I'm hot through you. You are really an embodiment of the new emerging spiritual teacher. So I just wanted to address that, because you already, just what you shared for introduction, I mean, you should see all the notes that I have. But Marci, so that I love, I'm sending, in the non-linear time traveling thing, which no time, then the non-linear, all the multiple realities happening at once. I'm sending so much love to that, like, beautiful lady that was making $2 in the restaurant. I'm whispering into her, we're time traveling right now. The future selves, we're
timeline hopping is what we do.
Yes. We love you. We love you. Yes. And thank you for teaching me not to call my formers. Anyways, move on. So you begin to go and emerge. I love what you just said about you went into mindset. I've been always in that. I'm surrounded by very powerful mindset experts. But that, and I'm sure you're aware, I'm about to teach a class about Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And Sattva is really benevolent energy. It's the Bodhisattva, it's the Buddha, it's the Christ, it's the Sophia Christ energy. It's this energy that you are emanating, Marci. Then we have the Rajas, is the mindset. We're going to conquer the Michael Jordan, the winners, the experts on one thing, the ones that get into the cover of the magazine and the win on repeat, and they have the money, but at night, they're not fulfilled. And a lot of them. I'm surrounded by them, and they're hustling. They're incredible. But there's lack of fulfillment. And then there's the Tamas, which is a really dark, kind of unjuicy stuff, but part of their creation, right? Where rapes, where tragedy, where terrorism, where there's a disconnection from our oneness, at least in the illusory mind, right? You have a lot of, you just talked to me about all of this. So as the $2 waiters that was there in that simultaneous reality that we're living, what happened what happened that woke you up to who you are? What happened?
Well, I mean, the beautiful part about it was that so many times when we're actually accessing our intuition, our higher knowing self, life is really easy. It's really easy because we're aware of energy and guiding. But most of us have shut that all off and down because we've learned at a really young age to look through the mind versus the heart, to ask permission, to, like dance around what's okay, what's not, how we be accepted and loved. And it was just like a big reality check. Actually, one of the reality checks for me was, because again, I was raised in this really strict religion. And at the time was, when I went and saw my bishop to, tell him like, yep, my former cheated. And again, back then I probably was using the word ex, wasn't even my ex yet, but it was like, and I was so proud of myself that I had come up with this, ability to go work at night as a waitress, pay a friend to sleep on my couch so I could raise my kids by day because they were little, and be able to, make enough to just get by. And that was my plan. And he said to me, if you don't take your husband back, you will be folding napkins for $2 an hour for the rest of your life. And there was no concern of like, how are you feeling? What are you going through? You're a daughter of God. It was just like, God wants you to, this is what they expect. You went into marriage and you need to tolerate and put up with this. And it was just like, this smack in the face of like, who am I listening to? And looking at this person, realizing they weren't happy. Their wife wasn't happy. Their family wasn't happy. It's all a big mass game. And it just kind of smacked me to be like, wait, like this is not working. So, and there was a huge, it's such a beautiful gift to have growth partners. My boys, I consider my greatest teachers, my greatest masters, and my greatest growth partners. And there was such a drive to want to, not only for myself, but also to be able to be on this journey, this contract with them, to show them what else was available, not to repeat the patterns of, okay, if you show up this way, everyone will love you, and sacrifice yourself so that, you know, it's okay. Instead, it was like, hey, I get to find this for myself, that I can give them that liberation and freedom too, which we know I can't actually do that. It's always up to them to choose their own divine path. And that is ultimate unconditional love, which I believe is the only job we have in conscious relationship, is to be a field of unconditional love, support, and acceptance. I can honor them in their divinity, not be attached to their experience, simply be love, just like Mother Mary and Jesus himself, you know, as you talk about these Christ consciousness codes. Yeah. And so that was a big wake up call for me. Years before, one of my big wake up calls was getting diagnosed with breast cancer. And this is probably one of the first times the angels really kind of dropped in and gave me specific clarity and guidance, which is what I've created as my, you know, one of the main tools that I teach, the 5 steps to help people become free, is to be able to see what we are consciously thinking, to move from unconscious to conscious, like to choose consciously something different, to create a different, you know, behavior, pattern, belief, and to be able to create a new frequency and a new experience. And I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And my oldest at the time was only 2 years old. And I'd had sicknesses my whole life. You know, again, the body manifesting, showing me what was ready to be, what wanted to be revealed and healed and loved, was showing up in physical form that I had been unwilling to pay attention to, right? And so, you know, in that experience of choosing to get to heal myself, which I got to heal myself of breast cancer, was like, I kind of called myself on the bullshit of, I want to be here when my son grows up. And instead of buying into the old stories of sacrifice, etc., it was such a calling forth of me seeing what I was creating. It's like, I wanted to be the victim who survived, because that was the only way I was validated. Is like, I remember my brother saying to me when I first found out about my husband, he said, you know, Mars, you have been through everything that is imaginable. And he's like, if anybody can do it, you can. And there was something in me that was like, I'm tired of being the warrior who's in the fight. Like I'm tired of being that one who overcomes struggle over and over and over again. There's got to be something different. And so that was a big wake up call for me, which I talk about in my book, and give these kind of guidance to, as the angels guided me to move through what was actually there, to see what I got to create instead. So, you know, I'm so grateful that I had this big why of my beloved growth partners, as well as just kind of being called forth to what your heart is calling you to be a greater experience, to be a reflection of our divinity.
Wow, Marci, this is so beautiful, so powerful, and it resonates so true in every single one of my cells, you know, because of what is emerging right now in humanity, and because what is emerging requires for all of us to really access those, how you call them, codes, right? That I call them the blueprint essence of the divine enough, right? It's who we are. It's who we are. It's without the priest telling us that we've seen. You know, I grew up being told that you have to pray this prayer, and I know our team is listening on the background, and they probably know. But in the religious, in the Catholic religion in Mexico, they have a prayer, Marci, that you punch your heart 3 times, literally with your hand, which is called creating a neuroassociative conditioning with your body, right? Like NLP. And as you punch your heart 3 times, you got to say, I am guilty, I am guilty, I am guilty for my thoughts, for my words, and for my actions. And since 3 years old, they have you tapping into your heart those 3 things. So I understand perfectly what you do. All of these is kind of zombie mentality. It's kind of like hypnotic trance of what is not. When it doesn't resonate anymore with the soul that came to emerge to liberate others into their own divinity, into realize that there's no sacrifice in the mindset world. That's the number one thing you hear. There's a sacrifice. I'm like, okay, go for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
go for it if you want to. But I love that you are sharing with people this. I love that you are giving them, not giving them, but actually inviting them into this portal of that you. I have heard you say, you really can have it all because you are it all, right? So
Yeah.
you access, you are, tell me a little bit, just this is my personal curiosity. And I'm following some questions, and I have some questions that some of my friends that were like, you are interviewing Marci, please ask her this, please ask her
Oh.
that, right? One is, tell me a little bit about your swam initiation. I find it that so powerful because for me it has been such a before and after, right? I got to meet Babaji Nagaraj in the Himalayas, the avatar. I
Yep.
got to live and experience so much with spiritual teachers in India. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it feels like, again, that was just one of the many initiations that I got to go on, but learning to connect to Babaji and go through the initiation of the breath and accessing higher codes of consciousness. I relate it a bit to now that I work directly with Isis, learning the alchemies of Horus and Isis with, we know our mastery of our sexual energy, our creation energy, our womb consciousness, to be able to utilize breath to clear and cleanse the channels where anything is stagnant within the system. Again, when we tune into that, we have lifetimes of energy connected, like I call them frozen imprints within our system, that when we start to see that even breath is life force energy. It's like how people are walking around totally unconscious of their breath, of being present with breath, or like breathing fast, breathing slow. And we become so present and aware of life happening in this moment. Again, notice the like ability to receive and to guide and direct energy. And so, it was the first step for me of learning to channel and move life force energy through my channel, my energy systems, the chakras, as well as up into, the pineal gland, to deactivate the pineal gland, to be able to, use different mantras and different aspects of this breath to be able to activate and access my system. My priestess initiation was also a whole other massive level experience. And obviously being India with enlightened masters and getting initiated there, it's like each one kind of opened another gateway, another portal of consciousness, and I still continue to be fascinated as, sometimes all of a sudden will receive, like the other day I was on my Align to Manifest Mastermind Mystery School doing a call, and, Lord Sananga, Jesus himself, came in and I transmitted this divine Christ consciousness blueprint. So you use the word blueprint as well, where it's like, I always say the God blueprint. It's like the God, the goddess, the goo in between, where, all of it, the harmonization of that. And coming back to that alignment, and he had, if we look at crystalline, Christ aligned, this Christ grid, and he gridded our systems, or taught me how to grid the systems and just transmit that we're instantly, everyone's like, oh, wow. I'm like, I'm lighter. And again, to be enlightenment is to be in light. And what part of this, if we look at how, yes, we get to bring our human everyday interactions, experiences into the highest vibration of love and light. If we're in resistance with anything, it's actually showing us what inside still wants to be revealed and healed and loved. And we have this ability to become, because we are master creators, but to be so much more aware of that. So it kind of reminds me of, like, again, working with Isis and some of these different ascended masters and divine essences, that what I was fascinated by in working with Isis, which was activating, sex magic ritual, which is really just playing with energy to, again, clear through your system, activate your DNA, awaken, clear energy to be able to expand into your consciousness through your pineal gland and, your crown and all these things to connect fully to the higher vibrations. You could call them higher octaves, is what the light beings like to call them. And to be able to, what she described to me at one point was that this is what activates the Ka body. So our Ka body is our etheric twin body. It is actually the thing that magnetizes everything to us to manifest into form, because the Ka body works in the quantum field. Our Kot body, our physical body, is this heavy, dense, we're so used to materialization. And what fascinated me is that the Ka body is activated and grows its ability to magnetize, again, anything you put your awareness on, because again, alchemy is simply wherever you put your attention, energy flows. So we put our awareness on anything, but most of the time people don't manifest because they're vibrationally not matching. They're coming from lack. I want this thing. It's outside of me. When I do this, etc. Instead of I am this thing, I am the beingness, the vibration of it. And there's some things to align to that. And what was fascinating